Welcome back, Oak Ridge Wildcats, to another swim meet. Tonight, the Oak Ridge High School and middle school swimmers will be taking on the Halls Red Devils. This is our first meet back from the winter break. I hope you had a great Christmas, great New Year. Christian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, but before this first event, I would like to thank one of our sponsors, the Mail Center ETC, all your packing and shipping needs. Thank you so much for sponsoring us. And
as you were mentioning, we are about to start the first event. That is the women's 200-meter medley relay. For Oak Ridge, the high school swimmers, we have in lane 2, Trabalka, Cherry, Bronham, Delmau. In lane 4, Winham, Fisher, Ozcan, and Stager. And in lane 6, Humansky, Burge, Wooten, and Beatty. Okay, and they are in. We are about to kick off our first event. And they're off. Lane 4's got the lead right now. Lane 3, close on Winham's tail. Lane 4 is peeling away with it. That is Winham for Oak Ridge High School. And now, Fisher is in the water for Oak Ridge. Off to a quick lead, Oak Ridge is. And Fisher is touched back. Ozcan is in the water, lane 4 for Oak Ridge. Lane 4 has a decimating lead right now. And lane 4 Oak Ridge has their final swimmer in. That is Steger for Oak Ridge. Close to lapping Hall's lane 3 right now. And the final swimmer is in for Hall's lane 3. And Steger is back. Oak Ridge lane 4 gets first place. And it looks like Oak Ridge lane 2 able to grab second. Oak Ridge lane 3 left to grab third. It's always a good way to start the race with two of your teams grabbing the top 2 spots. And that concludes event 1 for the high school swimmers. We now move on to event 1 for the middle school swimmer girls. And that is, once again, the women's 200-meter medley relay. Swimming for the Oak Ridge Middle School swimmers is in lane 4. And they're off. As this event gets off to a start, though, I would like to thank another one of our sponsors, WIT Services, whatever it takes. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. Here's the final swimmer is in for Oak Ridge, lane 4. That is Talk. And Hall's lane 2 is able to grab first place, but Hall's lane 3 is able to grab first place. Oak Ridge lane 4 able to grab second. As our final swimmers come in, coming out actually, I would like to thank another one of our sponsors, that is Stealth Forge Sharpening Wicked Sharp Edges. Thank you for sponsoring us tonight. And that concludes event number 1 for the middle school swimmers. We now move on to event number 2 for the Oak Ridge High School men's swimmers, and that is the 200-meter medley relay. For Oak Ridge, in lane 4, we have Vanetta, Sutton, Brown, and D. Hodge. And they're off. This looks like a one-on-one between lanes 3 and 4. Lane 3's got a slight lead. And Sutton is in for Oak Ridge. He's got a lot of ground to make up. Lane 3 still in the lead. Sutton right behind him, and Brown is in the water. He's making up ground. Tace Brown making up full laps, and Dylan Hodge in the water, final swimmer for the Oak Ridge High School swimmers. He's got a big lead from Brown. Can he keep it? And he's able to capitalize. That is a first place for Oak Ridge. And that concludes event number 2 for the high school swimmers. We now move on to event number 2 for the middle school swimmers. Once again, the 200-meter medley relay. For Oak Ridge, swimming in lane 4 is Q Delmau, C. O'Neill, Greenhaug, and Blanco. And they're off. As this race gets underway, I'd like to thank another one of our sponsors, Nutritious Foundation's Sustainable Weight Loss Solutions. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. Currently, Hall's lane 3 in the lead. Come on, Kevin. The second swimmer is in for Oak Ridge lane 4. Looks like Oak Ridge lane 3's caught back up. Lane 4, Oak Ridge is caught back up, but lane 3, Hall still holds a lead. Final swimmer in for Hall's lane 3, final swimmer in for Oak Ridge lane 4. Hall's lane 3 pulling ahead. Hall's lane 3 is able to grab the first place. Oak Ridge lane 4 will be able to grab a second. As this event pulls to a close, though, I would like to thank another one of our sponsors, ProMaster Trim. You dream it, we build it. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. And that concludes event number 2 for the middle school swimmers. We're now starting event number 3 for the high school swimmers. That is the 200-meter free. For Oak Ridge, we have in lane 2, Finn Thornton, and in lane 4, Amelia Hodge. Lane 4, Amelia Hodge keeps the lead, is actually widening it a little bit compared to lane 5, Halls, which at the beginning was very close on her tail. And Amelia Hodge is able to pull out first place for Oak Ridge in lane 4. Lane 5, Halls is able to get second, but lane 2, Oak Ridge, Finn Thornton able to grab third for Oak Ridge. As this event gets wrapped up, I would like to thank another one of our sponsors, Daughters of the Earth Company, created with Earth in mind. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. Next, the final swimmer comes in. That concludes event number 3 for the high school swimmers. We now move on to event number 3, the middle school girls 200-meter freestyle. In lane 4 for Oak Ridge, we have Olivia Foy McDaniel. And they're off. Oak Ridge, lane 4, that is Olivia Foy McDaniel, currently has the first place. And Olivia Foy McDaniel able to pull in first for Oak Ridge in lane 4. And as this event draws to a close, Christian, do you have a word from our sponsors?
Yes, the Children's Museum of Oak Ridge, learning fun for all ages. Thank you so much for sponsoring us. And now, John, who's going to be swimming for this next event?
Yes, as this event concludes, we now move on to event number 4, the men's high school 200-meter freestyle. For Oak Ridge, we have in lane 2, John Millett. In lane 4, Teus Brown. And in lane 6, Justin Krogel. And they're off. Starting out neck and neck, Teus is slowly pulling ahead. Lane 3, Halls is unrelenting though. This is neck and neck between lane 3 and Teus. Brown's got the slight advantage, but this will be a close finish. This is probably the closest I have ever seen one of Teus Brown's races come. Teus is starting to pull ahead. Just barely. Teus's lead is widening. And Teus is able to pull in another first place. Very crazy. Never seen somebody be able to stay on top of Teus like that. But Teus is able to pull in a first place for Oak Ridge in lane 4. Halls lane 3 and 5 able to get second and third respectively. As the final swimmers come in, that will conclude event 4 for the high school swimmers. Christian, do you have a word from our sponsors?
Yes, CS Engineering, Inc., quality technical service for nuclear and chemical industries since 1992. Thank you so much for sponsoring us. And now, John, what's the next event going to be?
The next event is the men's high school 200-meter freestyle. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 4, Connor O'Neill. has the slight advantage. And Connor O'Neill is able to pull in a first place for Oak Ridge in lane 4. And as the final swimmers come in, that will conclude event 4 for the middle school swimmers. Now, before we move on to event number 5, I would like to thank another one of our sponsors, WIT Services, whatever it takes. Thank you once again for sponsoring us tonight. And that concludes event number 4. We now move on to event number 5, the high school women's 200-meter IM. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 2, Rachel Branham, and in lane 4, Rosalie Windham. And they're off. And Rosalie Wyndham is able to pull in the first for Oak Ridge in lane 4. Now, can Rachel Branham pull in second in lane 2? This is neck and neck. Hall's lane 3, right on her tail. This is going to come down. Neck and neck finish. And Rachel Branham is able to do it. That is a second and first place for Oak Ridge. And that concludes event number 5 for the high school swimmers. We now move on to event number 5 for the females, for the middle school girls 100 meter IM. Swimming for the Oak Ridge middle schoolers is in lane 4, Rory O'Neill. As this race is underway, I would like to thank another one of our sponsors, Peggy Sells Homes. Peggy Sells Homes. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. Looks like Hall's lane 3 in the lead. Oak Ridge lane 3 starting to trail behind Hall's lane 5. And Hall's lane 3 able to grab first. Lanes 4 and 5 close second. And that concludes event number 5 for the middle school swimmers. We now move on to event number 6 for the high school swimmers. That is the men's 200 meter IM. Swimming in lane 4 for Oak Ridge is Quentin Venata. And they're off. This is another one-on-one. Lane 3 pulling ahead. Now lane 4, Quentin Venata pulling ahead. Looks like they're going to be trading off spots this whole race. Quinn gets the turnaround first. Has the very slight advantage over the Hall swimmer in lane 3. Quentin Venata's got a slight lead. Can he maintain it? Quinn's maximizing his lead. Can he grab another first row bridge? The Hall swimmer in lane 3 starting to pull ahead. Quinn's got to use whatever he's got in the reserves. And the Hall swimmer in lane 3 able to grab first place. And that concludes event number 6. We now move on to event number 6 for the middle school swimmers, the men's 100-meter IM. In lane 4, swimming for Oak Ridge is Mason Greenhow. Greenhouse got a slightly, but it is slight. Very. And Greenhouse is able to grab a first place for Oak Ridge. As this event draws to a close, I would like to thank another one of our sponsors, Countryside Tire and Auto Service. We provide expert, friendly, and knowledgeable service. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. And that concludes event number 6 for the middle school swimmers. We now move on to event number 7 for the high school women's swimmers. This is a multi-heat event. For heat 1, for Oak Ridge, we have in lane 2, Natalie Steger. In lane 4, Mason Fisher. In lane 6, Claudia Trabalka. And in lane 7, Samaya Wood. And they're off. And it looks like Oak Ridge is able to grab the first place. That concludes heat number 1. We now move on to heat number 2, where we have in lane 2 for Oak Ridge, Charlie Burge. In lane 4, Sasha Yamansky. And in lane 6, Eli Sampson. And they're off. Lane 2, Zoe Beatty. In lane 4, E. Delmau. In lane 6, Natalie Williamson. And in lane 7, Alice Perez. They're off. As this event draws to a close, I would like to thank another one of our sponsors, J&M's Butcher Shop. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. And that concludes event number 7 for the high school swimmers. We now move on to event number 7 for the middle school swimmers, where they will be doing the women's 550-meter freestyle. Swimming for Oak Ridge. In lane 2 is Michaela Coons, and in lane 4, Lila Martin. Before the event begins, though, Christian, do you have a word from our sponsors?
Yes, I do. The Chop Shop Hair Studio, a little bit of country, a little bit of rock and roll. Thank you so much for sponsoring us. And
now on to the event. While we continue to wait for the event to start, I'd like to thank another one of our sponsors, Lyndon S. Hurt DDS Orthodontics. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. As well, I would like to thank the Farrell Shop, gifts, accessories, kitchenwares, and bridal registry needs. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. On their marks. And they're off. Lane 4 Oak Ridge, that is Lila Martin, currently in the lead. Is able to grab first place for Oak Ridge. Paul's lane 3 grabs second. Oak Ridge lane 2, that is Michaela Coons, able to grab third. And this concludes event number 7 for the middle school swimmers. We now move on to event number 8, the men's 50-meter freestyle for the high school swimmers. It's another multi-heat event. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 2, Boru Nizer. In lane 4, Dylan Hodge. And in lane 6, Robert Vaughn. Wait, no. It appears like there was a second heat for the Halls middle school swimmers. Our apologies. While this event comes down to a close, we'd like to thank Oak Ridge Nutrition. Come get your shake on. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. Looks like we have a third heat. And as that event ends, we now officially move on to event 8. As I said, this is a multi-heat event, but now a refresher. Swimming for Oak Ridge in the men's 50-meter freestyle is in lane 2, Boru Nizer. In lane 4, Dylan Hodge. And in lane 6, Robert Vaughn. And Oak Ridge is able to grab a first in lane 4. Hall, maybe a second in lane 6 or a third. Hard to tell, but that is Dylan Hodge getting a first for Oak Ridge. We now move on to heat number 2. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 2, Santiago Acevedo. In lane 4, William Shin. And in lane 6, Chase Ryan. And lane 3, Hall's able to grab a first. And possibly lane 2, Oak Ridge able to grab a second. And that concludes heat 2 for event number 8. We now move on to event number 8 for the middle school swimmers, the men's 50-meter freestyle. Swimming for Oak Ridge in lane 2 is Cassius Blanco, and in lane 4, Quentin Delmau. This will be the last event before a quick break. or rather a break. While we wait for the event to start, I'd like to thank some of our sponsors. The Real Estate Office, See Me for the Key, and Explore Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge Exploration starts here. Thank you for sponsoring us tonight. And now on to the event. And they're off. And that concludes event number 8. We will now be going on a break, but don't go nowhere. Because when we come back, we have more swimming just for you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. During the break, we will be doing a short little presentation for the Oak Ridge High School seniors tonight. As this is the final game of the season. It appears we'll be having a little race between the Flamingos and the Unicorns. It's looking like we have Ozcan repping the Unicorn. But it looks like the Flamingo is pulling ahead. It's neck and neck right now. Can the Unicorn make up some ground? And the Fisher and Trabuco-led Flamingo able to get there first. The Burge Ozcan Unicorn right behind them. And now while we're on break, some more words from our sponsors, namely Outschool Classes by Tammy W., where kids love learning. Receive $20 off your first Outschool class. And then Outschool.com, an innovative educational platform for live small group classes. Make sure to join at Outschool.com. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight.
Now, while we are still on break, I would like to thank some of our sponsors, TCDI, People Focused, Performance Driven, and Phoenix Sign LLC. Phoenix Sign has the best deals in Knoxville. Thank you so much for sponsoring us, and we will be back soon.
And welcome back from the break. We are now starting off with event number 11, the women's 100-meter butterfly. Swimming for Oak Ridge for the high schoolers is in lane 4, Natalie Steger. As we wait for the event to start, I'd like to thank one of our sponsors, the New York Salon, Style Trends, Vogue, Mode. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. And now, on to the event. Once again, swimming is in lane 4 for Oak Ridge, Natalie Steger. And it looks like she's the only one swimming. And that concludes event number 11. We now move on to event number 12. No, that doesn't. We now move on to event number 11 for the middle school swimmers. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane number 4, Gretchen Grubb. And they're off. And that concludes event number 11. We now move on to event number 12, the men's 100-meter butterfly, where swimming for Oak Ridge in lane 4 is Teus Brown. And they're off. Teus shredding through the water right now. And Teus pulls in another first place for Oak Ridge. Seems like some Oak Ridge swimmers are very happy about their lead right now. And that concludes event number 12 for the high school swimmers. We now move on to event number 12 for the middle school swimmers, the men's 50-meter butterfly. Swimming for them is in lane 4, Mason Greenhouse. And they're off. Looks like Greenhouse is outnumbered 4-1. And as the final swimmers come in, that concludes event number 12 for the middle school swimmers. Before we start event 13, I would like to thank some of our sponsors, Will's Towing, all your lawn care and landscaping needs, and Lee and Barton DDS. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. And we now move 13. In lane 4, Sydney Oscan. In lane 6, Finn Thornton. And in lane 7, Beatrice Shea. It looks like we were able to get a first, second, and third for Oak Ridge. And that concludes event 13 for the high school swimmers. And we'll now move on to event 13 for the middle school swimmers, the women's 100-meter freestyle. In lane 2, for Oak Ridge is Brennan Toth, and in lane 4 is Rory O'Neill. This event continues, I would like to thank one of our sponsors, EGT Printing Studio, Vision to Reality. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. And that concludes event 13 for the middle school swimmers. We now move on to event 14 for the high school swimmers, the men's 100-meter freestyle. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 2, Boru Nizer. In lane 4, Colin Sutton. In lane 6, John Millett. And in lane 7, Robert Vo. No, actually it appears there was a second heat for the middle school swimmers. As this event continues, I would like to thank some more of our sponsors, the J&C Market, all your quick stop needs, and the Grove Market, your needs all in one stop. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. That concludes the second heat. We now move on to event 14, the men's 100-meter freestyle. Once again, swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 2, Boru Nizer. In lane 4, Colin Sutton. And in lane 6, John Millett. And in lane 7, Robert Vo. And they're off. Lane 3, Paul's starting to pull ahead. Paul's lane 3 has the lead. Oak Ridge lane 4, Colin Sutton trailing him. And lane 3, Halls is able to grab first place. Colin Sutton in lane 4, pulling in second for Oak Ridge. And it looks like Oak Ridge lane 6, John Millett able to grab third. Before we move on to the next event, I'd like to thank one of our sponsors, the String Workshop, violin rentals and sales, expert instrument repairs. Strings are their specialty. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. We now move on to event 14 for the middle school swimmers, the men's 100-meter freestyle. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 4, Connor O'Neill. In lane 6, Quentin Delman. And they are off. As this event draws to a close, I would like to thank our next sponsor, Bud's Farmhouse Coffee, happiest place in Oak Ridge. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. And as this event draws to a close, we begin the monstrous 500-meter freestyle. And that is event 15. Swimming for Oak Ridge in the women's 500-meter freestyle is in lane 4, Mason Fisher. Actually, no, it looks like there is a second heat for the men's 100-meter freestyle. Once again, we apologize for any mix-ups. The list we were given only shows the Oak Ridge swimmers, so we are unaware if there are second heats that do not involve Oak Ridge swimmers. So our apologies in our little mix-ups. And that concludes event 14. We now move on to the monstrous event 15. Once again, that is Mason Fisher swimming for Oak Ridge in lane 4. And that concludes event 15. We will now move on to event 16, the men's 500-meter freestyle. Swimming for Oak Ridge in this event is Dylan Odd. It is. Sorry for that, folks. We are back with event 18, the men's 200-meter freestyle relay. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 4, Bo, Millet, S. Acevedo, and Nizer. Lane 3's in the lead. Bo is hot on his trails, though. The second swimmer is in for Halls, and Millet is in for Oak Ridge. Got a lot of time to make up here. And he's doing it. Millet's starting to overcome Halls, lane 3. And the final swimmer is in for Oak Ridge. That is Nizer. Nizer's got the lead, but Halls is starting to catch up with him. Halls is overcoming him, and Halls gets first place. Nizer right behind him gets second. We now move on Now it appears we have a second heat for the Halls swimmers. That's my Christmas gift to you, Christian. Another piece of gum.
Thank you very much. This one is making my jaw hurt from how much I've been chewing on it.
You shouldn't be chewing so hard. Before we start this next event, I'd like to thank some sponsors: Millborn Bakery, In Cinnamon Rolls We Trust, and Knox Graphics and Signs. You think it, we can ink it. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. Now move on to event 19, the women's 100 backstroke. This is a multi-heat race. Swimming for Oak Ridge in lane 2 is Sydney Oskin. In lane 4, Rosalie Winham. In lane 6, Rachel Bronham. And in lane 7, Claudia Trabalco. Now begin heat number 2. Swimming for Oak Ridge is Beatrice Shea. Swimming in lane 4 is Alice Perez. And in lane 6 is Samaya Wooten. They're off. concludes heat number 2. We now move on to heat number 3. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 2, Zoe Beatty. In lane 4, Sasha Umansky. And in lane 6, Natalie Williamson. That concludes heat number 3. We now move on to event 19 for the middle school swimmers, the women's 50-meter backstroke. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 2, Emily Samsel. In lane 4, Olivia Foy McDaniel. In lane 6, Brennan Toth. And in lane 7, Gretchen Grubb. And I think there is a second heat to this event. And now on to the third heat for event 19. And that concludes event 19 for the middle school swimmers. We now move on to event 20, the men's 100-meter backstroke. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 2, Justin Krogel. In lane 4, Quentin Venata. And in lane 6, William Shin. Lane 4 in the lead. Looking like lane 2 pulling into second, but lane 3 is right on his tail. In lane 2 is Krogel. Quentin Venata is able to grab first place for Oak Ridge, but it looks like Paul's lane 3 has been able to come back and grab second. But Krogel in lane 2 able to grab third. We now move on to event 20 for event 20 for the middle schoolers, the men's 50-meter backstroke. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 2, Cassius Blanco. It appears Cassius Blanco is taking the lead for Oak Ridge. And he is able to pull it in. Oak Ridge grabs another first place. We now move on to event 21, the women's 100-meter breaststroke. This is a multi-heat event. For Oak Ridge, swimming in lane 2 is Sarah Cherry. In lane 4 is Amelia Hodge. And in lane 6 is Charlie Burge. Before we begin, though, I would like to thank some of our sponsors, Grove Indoor Storage, the friendliest storage facility in town, and Sicilia Pizza and Grill, the best Italian, Mediterranean, and Indian cuisine. Thank you so much for sponsoring us. And now on to the event. It looks like lane 2 of Quidge is currently in the lead. But actually, lane 3 Halls is starting to pull ahead. And lane 3 Halls gets first place with lane 4 Oak Ridge grabbing second and lane 2 Oak Ridge grabbing third. That concludes Heat 1. We now move on to Heat 2, but before we start that, Christian, do you have a word from some of our sponsors?
Yes, I have a word from. I'd like to thank Patriot Talent Solutions, veteran-owned IT staffing company, and East Tennessee Orthodontics. Our smile light up. Our smiles light up East Tennessee. Thank you so much for sponsoring us. And now on to the next event.
On to Heat 2 for the women's 100-meter breaststroke. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 2, Eli Samsel, and in lane 4, E. Delmau. And that concludes Event 21 for the high schoolers. We now move on to Event 21 for the middle schoolers. The women's 50-meter breaststroke. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 2, Michaela Coons. In lane 4, Lila Martin. And in lane 6, Emily Sampson. And they're off. As this event gets underway, I would like to thank some more of our sponsors, Fab 5 Designs and Christina Broadham, Coldwell, Baker, and Jim Henry. And that concludes event 21. We now move on to event 22, the men's 100-meter breaststroke. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 2, Chase Ryan. In lane 4, Colin Suddeth. And in lane 6, Santiago Acevedo. And they're off. Suddeth in lane 4 has the lead, but hauls lane 3 right on his tail. Lane 4, Suddeth is in the lead. And lane 3, Halls is able to grab second. Colin Suddeth grabs first for Oak Ridge. And it does appear that there will be a second heat for this event. And they're off. This appears to be a third heat. No, I do not know what this is. right, it appears we have started event 23. This is the women's 400-meter freestyle relay. For Oak Ridge, swimming in lane 2 is Wooten, Thornton, Perez, and Eli Sampson. And in lane 4 is Wenham, Oscan, A. Hodge, and Fisher. We are down to the final 2 events of the night. As this event carries on, I would like to thank some more of our sponsors: Juan's Tacos, authentic Mexican food, and Southern Bliss Boutique and Knoxville Pharmacy. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. And that concludes event 23. We now move on to event 23 for the middle schoolers. This is the co-ed 200-meter freestyle relay. Swimming for Oak Ridge is in lane 4. Talk, C. O'Neill, Foy McDaniel, and Greenhaug. Lane 4, Oak Ridge is in the lead. Talk is making a wide gap for them. Oak Ridge continuing their lead. And the final swimmer is out for Oak Ridge Lane 4. That is Greenhound. That is right. Oak Ridge has their final swimmer out, while Halls Lane 3 and 5 are just now getting their third swimmers to the other end. And Oak Ridge gets a first for the co-ed 200-meter freestyle relay. If this event continues on, I'd like to thank some more of our sponsors: Ski Scuba Center, Dive, 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 Lisa Moss Pottery, Awaken Your Inner Artist, and Pinnacle Land Surveying. Let us survey your land. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight. And that concludes event 23. We now move on to event 24, the final event of the night, the men's 400-meter freestyle relay. Swimming for Oak Ridge, we have in lane 4, Vanetta, Brown, D. Hodge, and Sutton. And as this meet draws to a close, I would like to thank one more sponsor, Screening Solutions LLC, Background Investigation Specialist. Thank you so much for sponsoring us tonight, and thank you to all of our sponsors for sponsoring us, not only tonight, but for the whole season. And Teus Brown is in the water. As this event draws to a close, I just want to thank you all so much for listening to us this season.
It has been amazing being your host for all of these swim meets. And John, do you have anything else to say other than how great it has been?
Not very much. As I said at the start, I hope you guys had great holidays, a great Christmas, a great New Year's. I hope you have a great rest of the year. But as always, as this event comes to a close, I've been John Harris with my co-host,
Christian Rosas.
and thank you so much for watching.